The desert sun beat down on the lone horseman as he traversed the parched valley. Beneath the wide brim of his weathered hat, Johnny Deadshot West kept his gaze fixed on the horizon. This was his domain, the desolate frontier where outlaws and gunslingers dwelt, where a man lived and died by the swiftness of his draw. As Deadshot crossed a dry riverbed, a faint rumble echoed over the ridges in the distance. He reined in his steed and listened. The rumble grew louder, accompanied by a telltale cloud of dust. Deadshot's piercing green eyes narrowed. A wagon approached. Spurring his mount up a rocky slope, Deadshot halted atop a plateau overlooking the trail below. He withdrew a brass telescope from his saddlebag and peered through it, bringing the distant wagon into focus. It was a prison coach escorted by a lone lawman, Sheriff Banks. Deadshot's gaze settled on the coach's occupant, a wide-eyed man gripping the bars, scanning his surroundings nervously. Red Haze, the bail jumper with a $1,000 bounty on his head. Deadshot stroked his stubbled chin, contemplating his approach. He would only get one shot at this. With a tug of the reins, he turned his horse and picked his way down the far side of the plateau. Positioning himself amidst a cluster of boulders, he dismounted and waited. The rumble of wheels and clop of hooves drew nearer. Deadshot's hand went to his holster, caressing the polished walnut grip of his revolver. He eased the hammer back with his thumb. The coach trundled into view below, oblivious to the threat lying in wait. Now. Deadshot took aim at the rear wheel, leading his target ever so slightly. He squeezed the trigger. The Colt roared, spitting lead. Sparks flew as the bullet pierced the iron rim. The wheel disintegrated, and the coach slammed down hard, tilting violently. Red haze was tossed about the cabin, colliding with the splintered walls. Sheriff Banks was thrown clear of his mount, striking the ground headfirst with a sickening thud. He did not rise. Seizing the opportunity, Hayes kicked open the warped coach door and stumbled out, still shackled. He bolted towards the tree line. Deadshot was already giving chase, his bay stallion surging beneath him. He fired a warning shot, forcing Hayes to dive behind a squat boulder. "It's over, Hayes!" Deadshot called out, revolver leveled. "Best come quiet. I'd prefer to bring you in alive." Hayes peeked out, eyes wide with terror. "Please, mister, I ain't done nothing wrong. The sheriff, he set me up." Deadshot's expression remained impassive, though uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Every man he'd gunned down had pleaded innocence with their final breath. He tightened his grip, finger applying pressure to the trigger. Hayes clutched his hands in desperation. "I swear it. Spare me, and I'll lead you to gold. More wealth than you've ever dreamed." Deadshot hesitated. In that instant, Hayes snatched up a fistful of sand and hurled it at his pursuer's face. Deadshot flinched, momentarily blinded. By the time he'd wiped the grit from his eyes, Hayes was already scrambling toward the sparse trees. Cursing under his breath, Deadshot swung up into the saddle and tore off after the fugitive, revolver blazing. The gap between them shrank rapidly as Hayes began to flag, but the tree line loomed closer. Once amidst the timber, Hayes could elude him. Just then, the earth disappeared beneath Hayes' feet. He plunged screaming over the edge of a sheer ravine concealed by the brush. Deadshot reined up sharply, peering over the rim at where Hayes lay sprawled on a ledge 20 feet below, clutching his leg in agony. There would be no escape for Red Haze now. Deadshot swung down from his horse. He paced the edge, gravel skittering down onto the crippled fugitive. This would be easy. Too easy. Where was the honor in such a death? He drew a breath, steadying his nerve, but he had greater purpose, a creed he must uphold. With remorseless precision, he took aim at Hase's chest. "Gold ain't worth dying for, mister." Hase choked out. Deadshot's finger tightened it on the trigger. "We all die for something." The gunshot echoed through the ravine.